I'm Jay Soul, Morgan Stanley's branded apparel and footwear analyst, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Bill Kirk, CEO of Weather Trends International. Now, Bill is here today to give us his forecast for this winter. And the main message is that Weather Trends is bullish on GDP, but less so on soft goods. Now, a little bit of context about Weather Trends International. Morgan Stanley has been using Weather Trends forecasts for about the last 10 years. And to their credit, they absolutely nailed the call last year. They said it was going to be one of the coldest winters on record. It was the coldest in 36 years. Yep. And you know what's different about what WTI does is that most guys are just using physics. But what WTI does is also uses very intricate statistical models using 125 years of weather data to predict long-range weather forecasts. So, Bill, can you tell us what we're going to talk about today and just explain?
We're going to try to dispel some of the crazy social media stuff that we're seeing that the world's going to end with this winter. We're going to talk about our specific temperature forecast and how it relates to the overall economy and retail sales, and obviously the rain-snow factors that can also influence GDP and overall store traffic.
Got it. All right, so let's talk about the first thing. Let's talk about dispelling some of the myths that are out there and why you see GDP benefiting from weather, but soft goods not so much.
What this shows is these are the warm winters, these are the cold winters, record cold, record hot. So what we had a couple years ago was a very warm winter, okay? And then last winter we went all the way to the other extreme, one of the greatest changes in 100 years. So this was a huge change, huge lift for auto battery sales, coat sales, shoe sales, anything that was seasonal sold here, record sales. Now the reality is this winter is we're going to go from one extreme to slightly cool, still a cool winter overall, but not the extreme. So we don't have the lift here, right? We don't have the change in the weather lifting those sales. So in theory, the weather's a little bit of a negative for the coats, the gloves, the heavyweight stuff when we're talking December through February. But this is a positive for overall store traffic and GDP. So that parking lot that was covered in Ford dealership, you can get to it this year. That's the message.
Got it. Okay, so maybe let's talk about your temperature forecast. This chart shows long-term temperatures in the winter. Can you explain this?
Yep. So it's 25 years of national temperatures for the December, February. So last year, again down here, coldest in 36 years. The change, though, look how huge this change was from the winter prior to here. The greatest change in 100 years that we've ever seen. So if you didn't have great sales last year, you missed the best opportunity probably in history from that change from record hot to record cold. Now this year we bounce up a little bit, still a little bit below average, but cooler. So again, we don't have that lift for the heavyweight coats. The trend is in theory flat to negative, but it's a huge lift for overall store traffic, for the general seasonal merchandise retailers, everything else that would affect the GDP. So this is actually a plus temperature-wise.
Got it. So now let's talk about just the country as a whole, because the last chart was just the country, but this shows some regional differences. Can you talk about any regional differences that you expect?
Yeah. So what this is showing is where our polar vortex was last year, right? So obviously it's much warmer. That's what the color coding shows, and it's above average this year. So instead of being the red dotted line north is kind of a warmer than typical for this time of year. Down here, cooler than typical. Down in here, we have kind of a cooler than last year and cooler than average. Over here, it's kind of cooler than last year and cooler than average. So seasonal demand may be pretty strong down in here. Seasonal demand may be pretty soft up in here, but again, this is a great store traffic pattern here, that it's much more favorable for overall people being outside and shopping. This is a plus. Northeast, we kind of have us in the seasonal to slightly cool, but a little warmer, obviously warmer than last year. So again, plus for store traffic.
Got it. All right, now let's talk about your precipitation forecast, because you have a very interesting view. You expect it's going to be the wettest in 17 years. But interestingly, a lot less snow. Can you talk about that?
Well, because it's a little bit milder. So the polar vortex this year we have kind of sitting over Siberia and Russia and probably Greenland. It's not going to be as frequently in North America. You always have a polar vortex. So this year we actually see an El Nino-ish pattern, which just brings a lot of moisture into the southern part of the country. So again, we have it the wettest in 17 years, back to that strong El Nino back in the 1998 timeframe. So wet is the message versus half the snow. So New York City, Chicago, places that had 50 to 80, 90 inches of snow last year may only see 30, 40 inches of snow this year. A lot more wet, maybe some ice storms, but overall, you'll take the wet over the snow anytime. So this is, again, overall not the best, but it's certainly better than snow.
Got it. All right, well, let's stop there. Again, the main message is Weather Trends is expecting a winter weather season that's going to be beneficial for GDP because it'll help store traffic because it's milder than last year, but still, because of the comparison versus last year, it's going to be challenging for the soft goods categories like apparel and footwear.
Correct.
All right, so again, Bill Kirk, CEO, Weather Trends International, thank you so much. I'm Jay Soul, Morgan Stanley's branded apparel and footwear analyst. Thanks so much for your time.